We have previously talked about strong safe lane combos. This time, we're going to inspect the other side lane and take a look at 8 strong dual offlane partners and what makes them so good. Hello Pro Guides family, I'm Moxie and today I'm going to tell you about 8 offlane combos you can try out with a friend and win your games with. Now that the Heroes patch has finally been released and the meta headed back into chaos, I will show you some of the classic and new dual lanes that are going to be broken and reliable if executed correctly. Today's question of the day is, if you could add any item you'd like to the game, what would you call it and what would it do? Post your answers down in the comments. I can't wait to read them. Sometimes it's enough to bring some fire, an egg, and an axe. And no, we're not talking about making breakfast over a campfire. We're talking about Axe and Phoenix. This old dual lane is a very popular combo for many reasons. For one, it offers very high levels of aggression early on that can persist across the whole laning phase. 2 slows and an attack speed debuff to ensure optimal trading, and a counter helix that works really well as a tool to farm waves, camps, and punish melee heroes. Axe's Battle Hunger and Phoenix's Icarus Dive makes disengaging quite reliable and can often result in the possibility of turning to fight your opponents instead. Once level 6 is reached, Supernova, together with Berserker's Call, makes for some great killing potential as you keep the enemy heroes from hitting Phoenix's egg. Call and Supernova scale really well into the late game, allowing the two to stay a very strong teamfight combo no matter how late the game goes. The recent buff to Supernova, which requires your opponents to hit it for a total of now 6 times instead of the previous 5, which makes the execution of this combo even easier. Just make sure to keep that Sunray aimed at Axe and the enemy carry and you will for sure win this lane. 2 heroes that have already proved themselves to be more than viable heroes recently are even more devastating when paired together. The 55 high-range damaged heroes will punish any melee or low-damage ranged hero. With Nature's Prophet's Treants and Lena's Wave Clear, Stun, Fantastic Range, and Nuke Potential, these 2 heroes can act very aggressively on the lane and also against the carry and support. First, you want to control the lane and build that advantage in both gold and experience by poking with your heroes before eventually overwhelming your opponent, closing them into their own tower and taking it slowly but surely. Use your Treants on Furion not to just secure last hits and denies, but also to punish the enemy carry whenever he wants to go for a last hit or try to trade with either one of you. For an even easier setup, use Sprout on the enemy to make them an easy target for Light Strike Array. If you ever get low on Nature's Prophet, simply use your TP scroll to go back to the fountain and then just use his teleportation to get back to the lane. Don't forget to bring any of Lena's items back with you. After unlocking your 2 big nukes, Laguna Blade and Wrath of Nature, you should look to secure kills and move freely around the map after taking that tier 1 tower. Furion's teleportation also makes him a global gank threat to any lane. Roam around and pressure other lanes, and your opponents will crumble in no time. 7.27b saw some small but relevant buffs for both Mars and Dark Willow. The already cheesy combo has grown even further in strength and efficiency. If your opponents have no means of dispel, you'll be in for a good ride. Although the right usage of spells requires precision and communication, a target rooted by Bramble Maze is easy prey for Mars' spear. Once hit and stunned, that target becomes vulnerable to Dark Willow's Cursed Crown, making the usually unreliable stun actually useful in lane. Just remember, it takes 4 seconds to trigger the AoE stun on the target. Whilst the enemy are thoroughly locked down for a few seconds, Dark Willow will have enough time to charge up her Shadow Realm to add another burst of magical damage to the disabled target. Just make sure to fully charge it as it hits the maximum damage at 3.5 seconds after activation. Now for the cheese and the absolute beast of a teamfight combination. Arena of Blood combined with Terrorize. It worked against as many units as you can catch. With Arena of Blood's formation time improved in 7.27b, it's as easy as ever to hit, and deals great damage with some of the best and biggest crowd control in the game. Any hero caught in the arena is just an easy target for Terrorize, which essentially turns into a hard disable that forces them to repeatedly run into the walls of the arena with destructive effects, cluttering them all together and dealing up to 250 damage every time they run into it. Call a friend, practice this, and after a while, you will win most of your games with Mars and Dark Willow. After 7.27b and 7.27c, Underlord saw a 6% surge in his win rate, placing him second behind Broodmother in the Divine and Immortal bracket. Although Underlord lost the permanent damage from Atrophy Aura, he gained attack range, improved cooldowns, bigger AoEs, and a better aura that further increased duration and bonus attack damage from creeps. In my opinion, probably one of the top 3 winners of this patch. Now add Disruptor, a hero that seems to suit Underlord's skill set completely. Glimpse to teleport heroes back into Underlord's Pit of Malice, Kinetic Field to keep them trapped in Firestorm, and Thunderstrike just for extra magical damage. On top of that, Static Storm to fight and silence enemies that are being held for the entire duration by Pit and Kinetic Field. They seem to be the perfect couple together, completing everything the one other is missing. Double catch, double damage, and the ability to trade efficiently with Atrophy Aura and Thunderstrike. Physical damage, magical damage, high movement speed. Legion Commander and Skywrath Mage can hit whenever they like and dodge attacks when needed, possessing long-range nukes, but also the nice trading capabilities on Legion Commander to just man-fight their lane opponents. This lane is mainly about expending all of their resources and retreating, before coming back fresh and ready to fight while the enemy is still recovering from the previous attack. Legion Commander can trade with both Moment of Courage and Press the Attack, which is also a hard dispel for any stuns or other major spells on the other side. Arcane Bolt is a vision-granting targeted nuke that goes down to 2 seconds between 2 usages at level 4. Concussive Shot and Ancient Seal adds a long-range slow and silence respectively to his skill kit. Most Skywraths usually either walk back to base after depleting all of their mana or deny themselves to neutrals or an enemy tier 2 tower to make sure to keep the XP and gold bounty away from the opponents and enabling a swift return to the lane. And now the one thing everyone has probably seen coming from a mile away: Duel and Mystic Flare. Duel is Legion's bread and butter, her most important ability, but it can be difficult to kill someone with it early on. Skywrath's Mystic Flare deals 725 damage over 2.4 seconds, but can be tricky to hit as its radius is only 170. See where I'm going? There's almost nothing you cannot kill with Duel and a Mystic Flare on top. Even better that their cooldowns are pretty similar, with 60 and 50 seconds, ensuring that they will always be used together for a guaranteed duel victory for Legion Commander, easily stacking up that important damage for her. I don't know if there's any other 2 abilities that work so well together. Anyone who has watched the previous video on safe lane hero combos will understand the general gist of this duo. The lane is pretty solid. Grimstroke offers a high damage nuke that is essentially the reverse of Windranger's Power Shot, dealing more damage the more units it passes through. The Inkswell buffing movement speed and dealing DPS and stunning the targets within its AoE. Cast this on Centaur and it will allow him to not just catch and deal damage to its target, but also follow up with Hoof Stomp and another nuke that is his double edge. Retaliate allows Centaur to trade auto attacks quite easily, and paired with some small armor items and a ring of health, he can sustain any trade and come out on top. Grimstroke's Stroke of Fate can also be used as a tool to pull the hard camp and catch your own wave to affect the lane equilibrium, or to interrupt the enemy easy camp pull. Once level 6 is reached, Stampede and Soulbind can be used to very easily catch enemy heroes and also cast Double Edge twice for double the damage. Centaur has a strength gain of 5 per level, which means 100 HP every time he levels up, making him one of the tankiest heroes of the game. Centaur is a beast, and Grimstroke only enhances what Centaur already does. Venomancer Undying. Both these heroes were seldom picked for a fair while, but over this past season, we've seen the heroes come back as a method to try to dominate lanes, so why not have both at once? Half the beauty of this lane is you can first pick both and it reveals very little. Veno may have lost his innate healing reduction, but his DPS buff on Poison Sting and Plague Wards make him even more of a pain alone. With a value point in lane in Venomous Gale, the persistent chipping of HP with Poison Sting and the constant stealing of strength from Undying make Venomancer's DPS all the more potent. Undying can kind of operate as a screening mechanism for Veno. If the enemy can make it through the thicket of Plague Wards in lane and make some sort of attempt to kill Veno, Undying works as a buffer to prevent Veno from being quickly burst down thanks to his Soul Rip healing and Undying's general tankiness. Veno relishes long fights. His spells are low commitment, so in most cases when in danger, he can commit Gale and a ward with Undying there as soon as they are caught out of position. The Tombstone and Decay is going to make living a pretty big task for the unfortunate enemies. Of course, later on, Veno's ultimate has no cast point, and it can just be thrown out in danger. It's like role-playing a real Bombardier Beetle or something. You don't have to skill ults at 6 on either hero, but often it bolsters kill potential even further, as Undying's ult now just flat increases all damage the target takes by 25, 30, 35%, making this combo a huge threat in the later stages of the game. Just throw out your spells, pull up a chair, sit back and laugh as the enemies either try to slowly commit for a kill with 150 movement speed and 10 strength, while it's the tick down over 100 damage per second. It's definitely a toxic and deadly combo. Here's two heroes that aren't some of the usual suspects the average Dota player might think about when trying to draft a synergistic lane pairing. The effectiveness of both ultimates are pretty obvious, but they make for a nasty lane combo if played well. One of the big winners of this patch is Sand King, with a pretty significant rework of Caustic Finale, which now immediately slows the enemy for 5 seconds and applies the explosion effect if the target dies before that 5-second duration. To add to this, Caustic now deals less flat damage on explosion, but adds on a percentage of the target's max health, which is up to 22% of the target's max health in a 500 AoE. And now Sand King has 3 absolutely killer abilities, and honestly, it's gonna be hard to prioritize which one to max first. With how good this new Caustic looks, there could definitely be a case for maxing it first now. We haven't even mentioned Treant yet. Right, so Treant got a bit of a smaller change. Leech Seed is back to its roots. It's once again single target and does damage per second to the target, whilst healing allies in an AoE for the same amount. Also, Aghanim's now has 3 charges with recharge time on a 40-second cooldown, so definitely worth a pickup if it wasn't already there before. In terms of laning, you have 2 very difficult to kill heroes. Treant complements Sand King Sandstorm well due to the tree-walking nature of this hero, allowing him to place very difficult to deward sentry wards in the trees, catching the enemy's wards whilst being invisible to the unfortunate support who has to buy out all the stock to try to find yours and kill Sand King. With Caustic, a level 1 Burrow Strike, Sandstorm, combining with Nature's Grasp and Leech Seed, you have some fantastic DPS. Try hitting each creep to apply Caustic, and quickly stunning the carry when he is next to the wave and using everything to blow up the wave and deal some truly insane damage. Last, everyone loves a great ultimate combo in Dota, and this dastardly duo offers that as well. Overgrowth has an 800 radius, and with his tree walking and level 10 invisibility talent, Treant has enough mobility to easily maneuver around fights to find a multi-hero Overgrowth. In turn, this buys time for that annoying 2-second epicenter channel and allows the Sand King to line up a big stun and hit everyone in the vicinity of Overgrowth. Now that's a lot of damage. That's it for today. I really hope that with the last video about the combos on the safe lane and today's video, I could show you some really strong and new lane combos for you to play and try out so that you don't have to play this new patch entirely blind. I'm Moxie, and thank you for watching. May you have all the best of luck in your games in 7.27c.